Off top, if you ever see a forest of thousands of aspen trees, you should know that those aren't multiple trees. It's just one tree. Each tree is just a branch. They're a connected root system underneath them all. Play music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show. As you can tell, I just got back from spring break in Aspen. We're doing a remote show because Charlie and I are getting ready to fly down to Miami. What up, Chuck?
Not much. Many people are saying that we're the number one botany podcast at ESPN.
Yeah, we got
no one botanizes like us.
We got a couple back to back. Also, you can like rub your hands on the trees and it gives you sunscreen. So
Ooh.
like it gives like off a little
bigger deal
dust.
for me than you.
That's yeah. I mean, I'm good. On my sunscreen is pretty natural most of the time, but I need to have some more. But no, it was interesting when I went on the snowmobile with the family, and the guide was telling us, he did his whole spiel about how many trees you think those are, and we were like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. No, those are just branches. It's part of an entirely different root system. And so then, of course, like a dummy, I go and start Googling this, and apparently somewhere in Utah, there's a 47,000 branch system of aspen trees called Panda, which I think they believe is 80,000 years old.
Wow.
Yep.
It's
I
putting
see
out
your
pines.
eyes. You get your Google on. I see your Google eyes. All right,
hands up.
we gotta
I just soul act.
Don't soul act. Never. You can't full soul act. Just flip your hips, buddy.
Yeah, we're gonna simply flip our hips and go to the topics of the show, I guess.
All right, what do you want to talk about? You want to give us a little rundown?
Yeah, so I think we're at an interesting point in the sports calendar where some of the stories are maybe more interesting than the games. What we have is a pretty unique NCAA tournament. I think we should dive into some Cooper Flagg stuff. And then pivot off that. This is your neck of the woods. We have a couple stories that when I saw over the last couple days, I was like, I can't wait to talk to Domonique about this. We haven't hammered them too much in the pre-show, so there'll be some surprises with that, with the Kevin Willard departure from Maryland. And I think we should check in on Tet McMillan and the yearly tradition ahead of the NFL draft of, does this player love football enough? But the main thing we've talked about, which is this is an NCAA tournament where a lot of the chatter has been, are there enough upsets? Is this the NCAA tournament we love? And then the subplot of that is this dominating Duke team that's led by Cooper Flagg, who people attributed a lot of things to before they ever saw him play. And he has just been quietly excellent this year as the protagonist of the college basketball season. And they are now the dominant team heading into the Final Four. When you think about Cooper Flagg, what do you think about the significance of his season in these first two games? Because you watched this Elite Eight.
Yeah, no, that game was awesome. I watched a lot of the Duke in the tournament just because you want to see Cooper Flagg. And I think I've been thinking a lot about how these next two games, it feels like a real opportunity for Cooper Flagg and, frankly, the NBA. I'm trying my best not to be unnecessarily hyperbolic, but I was thinking about this as if I were to write a column on something like this, I think the headline would be something about Cooper Flagg has an opportunity to take a huge step towards being the face of the NBA, which sounds stupid and crazy, and it's probably a bad headline, which is why I'm not a headline writer. But I just think that we've talked so much about how it reminds me a little bit of Zion, and that we got so much attention on Zion in that 1 year. It just happens rarely that our entire sports country focuses on a single player who's not in an NFL or not in the Super Bowl or not in the NBA championship or in a situation where it's just nothing else happening and there's only one guy that matters. And it used to happen in college more often. And I think it's a chance where the fandom and the awareness and the appreciation for Cooper Flagg has an opportunity to grow exponentially. If he balls out in this first Final Four game and then does the same in the championship game and then's the number one overall pick, hopefully to our Washington Wizards, he's going to enter the league with an amount of hype and attention. Hype's the wrong word, though, but an amount of attention and I guess just awareness that is so rare, I feel now, for players entering the NBA.
Do you really feel like it's like the Zion level? Because I was thinking about that. And Zion was like, it was must-watch TV. That team had the 3 freshmen on it. Obviously, RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish have not been the NBA players that we expected, nor is Zion for that matter. But
it's definitely not Zion level because I remember there were regular seasons like Duke versus Carolina was a bit like Obama was at the game. It was like a bigger thing.
The exploding shoe.
Right.
Yeah.
I it's not Zion level now. I guess my opinion is that it could get to those heights if we like it's similar to, and it's not Caitlin Clark level either, but it did feel like those Caitlin Clark games last year in the Final Four was like, hey, we all have to watch this.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like any game in college basketball has been like that since Zion, where it's like, hey, not only do we all have to watch it, but we have to watch it because of this guy.
Yeah.
And if he plays in that way, the way that we expect him to play, which is probably a little different than I know you and I were talking before the show about a bunch of freshmen that we remember who had great seasons in college and were also like highly touted prospects. And looking back at it, so few of them played like Cooper Flagg. Like so many of them are just like scorers.
Yeah. I mean, the most obvious, the low-hanging fruit comp. We can run through these, some of them, of the freshmen who have really captured the imagination. Really in the 2000s, like the first one being Carmelo Anthony, who came in and was hyper polished and won it all at Syracuse, and
he was the offensive guy. Like you know, it's not. I mean, Cooper was
there
the
were
offensive
bird
guy.
magic comparisons to LeBron and Carmelo when that draft is happening now, and obviously it's the way their careers have sort of diverged with, you know, how unbelievable LeBron is, and it's like it's hard. You don't want to call Carmelo Anthony disappointing because he's a Hall of Fame career. He's one of the 75 best players ever. But there were periods at Syracuse where you're like, this guy's athletic. He can score from anywhere. He's so advanced for a 19-year-old, and he won a national championship with Jerry McNamara, Hakeem Warwick, and Queth Dewaney.
Yeah, he was by far the best player in college basketball and didn't belong there for the 1 second that he was there, and winning a national championship was incredible. And I guess this is not a LeBron pod, so we don't have to rotate or we don't have to shift the conversation to that, but it's just kind of funny to me to think about. You're right. Even though he went number 3, there was conversation and they were always compared together. And it's funny to think how good LeBron was that he kind of outran those comparisons. Early on, it went from being like, hey, these guys, Magic and Bird, to like, oh, yeah, it's one of them.
Yeah, it was in their second year when LeBron started putting up LeBrons, the 27, 7, and 7.
Yeah.
And Melo sort of plateaued in his second year and stayed around 21 points a game. I mean, that tournament's a really interesting one. There's so much nostalgia because I remember not knowing who Dwayne Wade was going into that tournament, and they beat Kentucky, who was the prohibitive favorite in that tournament, and went on a run, and it was like, oh my God, this guy's unbelievable. It felt like he was right there with Melo as like the best player in college basketball, but he's on Marquette.
And that's so cool. Like, I guess it's not fair for me to say that doesn't happen anymore, but I feel like it go ahead.
I'm glad you said that it doesn't happen anymore, and I'm glad you said that is cool, because there have been many talking heads who are like, yeah, everyone loves an upset until you get to the Final Four with teams like a St. Peter's or a Sister Jean or a Butler or whoever. No, my friend, because there were no upsets in this tournament. There were 7 SEC teams in the Sweet 16. There had the chance to be 6 in the Elite 8. And what we've gotten, with the exception of that Florida game, was a bunch of blowouts, where it's just now the better teams are winning in college basketball, and upsets were awesome. If I had one actual general complaint about this NCAA tournament, it's still an amazing product. Like, the ratings show that people still love watching games with stakes, but the fact that you have all these SEC teams with Missouri Valley Conference players on it who are unbelievable, who have just been using the NIL era to hop to bigger programs once they've established themselves on Cinderella teams. We are at legitimate risk of losing the Dwayne Wades. Like, Walter Clayton is at Florida right now, instead of an Iona, instead of taking an Iona to the Final Four.
I've gotten off of that take because I trotted it out 7 years ago. Now the rest of you are catching up.
But it was a bad take.
It's a great take. It's a great
bad
take. It's a bad take now.
Oh,
because
upsets are bad.
No, I think that the reason why it was a good take back then was because we actually knew teams and new players.
Yeah.
Like, it's to like have if Cooper Flagg getting knocked out in the second round. It's not ideal. This is my only point. Like I know you're gonna be funny and make fun of me and say it's a bad take, but like the reason why it's different now is because we kind of don't know any teams. So like I'm fine with having an upset if there's a player that's so good that it makes me want to care and want to watch.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing that would have been interesting because it's like you actually look at that Iona team that Walter Clayton, who we learned today was a big defensive back recruit, rangy DB recruit, 4 or 5-star prospect who just quit football because he didn't like getting hit. He had offers from Florida State, Florida, Georgia, and Alabama as a high school sophomore. Well, and like
the fact of the matter is if his NBA career doesn't pan out, somebody gonna give him a roster spot in the NFL. They'll give him a shot. So he's not. Well, the problem is actually the real problem is he said he didn't like hitting or getting hit. So maybe football's not in his future.
What's if he gets let's play this out. Say he's averaging he goes to the G League or something. His NBA career doesn't work out. He's like 24 years old and he's 6'3". He's has awesome hands. He's a remarkable athlete still. He gets in an NFL locker room and all these guys are like, you don't like getting hit. How's that go for him?
I mean, it's not a problem. There are plenty of guys who don't like getting hit or don't like hitting in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, it's not the 90s anymore. There are ways that you can find a play where, I mean, of course.
Isn't an NFL locker room the one place where it is still the 90s?
I don't know. I haven't been in one in a while in that capacity where there are no cameras and there are no media members. Now, if I enter an NFL locker room, I'm the old guy that you have to act normal around. So I don't know what it's
still play a couple snaps.
Don't use my own lines against me. And I obviously could not play any more snaps. But yeah, I don't know what it would be like if it is still completely the 90s. It's certainly a 2025 in there. The locker room is never a place where language is up with the times. How did we get here? We were talking about Cooper Flagg, other guys in college basketball who are awesome freshmen and great prospects.
Great detour. I'll run through a couple of them faster than that one. After 03, there was the 07 year, which was, I think there were two of them. Greg Oden went into the year with legitimate Bill Russell comparisons and had a broken wrist and was shooting free throws left-handed and took an Ohio State team with Mike Conley to the final where they lost to Florida in the back-to-back national championship team that had Joakim Noah and Al Horford and Corey Brewer on it.
There we go. Don't you try to slight my man. Corey Brewer was the most outstanding player in that tournament.
I didn't. He wasn't even in the notes. I just knew it off the dome.
Oh yeah, I put him in the notes. You just say read the notes.
That's fair. Sure didn't. But,
so I mean, I respect it even more. Also in the notes, a chance to make fun of John Brown because that was back when Georgetown made Final Fours.
Oh yeah, that was when Jeff Green traveled against Vanderbilt and they didn't call it and they let our one chance to make a Final Four fly out the window.
You were a Georgetown fan back then?
No, it was Vandy. Georgetown knocked out Vandy in the Sweet 16 on a Jeff Green travel. Like one of the most like people are upset about Derek Queen's footwork in the Sweet 16. Like get out of here or in the round of 32. Jeff Green and his crab dribble. That same year there was Kevin Durant who was the Wooden Award winner who was he's like 27, 10 and some and he ended up going number 2 in that draft, but it was like watching him, it seemed like
Oden went 1.
Oden went 1. It didn't seem like there could possibly be more hype freshmen. And then the next year, Michael Beasley, who came with all of the stories of him autographing the principal's car at Oak Hill, going to all these different high schools, but being better than Kevin Durant as a AAU player. And he walks into a Kansas State team and he's supposed to be with Bill Walker, who tears his ACL. And it's this whole pipeline of AAU basketball from DC Assault. And he comes in and with all of his weirdness, he's 26 and 13 and a couple assists. And he goes to the Miami Heat. And that year was another year of super freshmen where it was OJ Mayo and Derrick Rose. And Derrick Rose takes Memphis to the national title game and is one Mario Chalmers shot away from it and ends up going number 1. And to me, these freshmen are those are more memorable freshmen than Cooper Flagg even. It's not,
I would disagree with you.
Really?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I guess one thing is they're all different from Cooper Flagg in that none of them were on like a super team like Cooper Flagg, and they were all relied on to score a lot more. And where frankly, better scorers than Cooper Flagg is right now, which is easier for us to like pick up and appreciate and watch as fans. But I don't know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is I remember the hype around Kevin Durant was mostly about him as a draft prospect, even though he was putting up numbers.
He lost in the second round.
Yeah, he lost in the second round. So I guess that's my point is I feel like the hype now is a lot more about Cooper Flagg as a college player, which is kind of fun. Yeah. And not as much about projecting him forward, even though we are going to project him, but we want to watch him play.
Well, he's so interesting as an NBA prospect, too, because he seems like this ultra-high floor prospect who you know is going to be awesome defensively, who's going to do a million different things, but because he still has like a flat jump shot, he's going to score, but it's not easy. You looked at Durant and you were like, this is 20-plus for as long as his weird 7-foot body holds up, and it's held up for almost 20 years. But like, we didn't know that at the time. Odin was like, oh my God, if he stays healthy, this is like the next great center. Flagg is interesting because like as we've read more about him coming up, he's had to remake his jump shot already once where he shot from under his chin and had a set shot. And now he at least has a high release and he's got such good touch at the free throw line. You imagine he's going to fix it, but it might not be the immediate, oh, this guy is the number one scorer on an NBA team. It's more, you get the entire package with him. He's going to be awesome. And then the last one for me of guys who remind this is the one who reminds me the most as a college player is Anthony Davis. And like we knew coming in, he was getting comparisons to Patrick Ewing and all these guys. And he'd grown from being a guard. And it was this story of this 6'3" guy who was getting offers from Illinois State, ending up at Kentucky as 6'10" with a 7'5" wingspan. And that team was so loaded. And they ran through the college season. They had that incredibly memorable game where they got their first loss on against Indiana on that Watford 3, the Christian Watford 3. And then in the tournament, it was him and Kid Gilchrist. But in that national championship game, he couldn't hit a shot. But his rebounding and his shot blocking made him so dominant. And to me, he's a better college player than Cooper Flagg.
Yeah.
Straight up. But that's the feel of it. Like, do whatever your team needs to get you to the finish line. And that's the type of prospect that he sort of has played like. And this Duke team is similar because, like, you look at, like, Knuppel on that team, and it's like that 15-year NBA vet. He's so polished already. It's so unbelievable. And that's like, he's in a unique spot where we've seen these group of super freshmen come together, but he's made it work despite being the number one hyped guy.
The AD comparison is great too, because I think Cooper Flagg is part of this like newer generation of players that we find more and more of these long-ish unicorn type guys. Yeah. But when you look at him, like he's 6'10", right? Like he is a legitimate like small ball center size, and he could be like a rim protector in a way that AD makes sense, because like AD's defensive impact, I think in college and in the pros, is probably underappreciated because we don't know how to like really gauge defense, but they're really impactful on the team. And that's what I saw. Cooper in that game against Alabama, it was funny how they kept pointing out that Sears is like a first team All-American and like their big shot maker. And then in the clutch moments, Cooper just slid his feet. It just completely took this little guard out. It was absurd. And Knuppel, like my first time watching Knuppel in this season, like I imagine him. I think I do a thing in my head with like Duke guards where I'm like, oh, he's just like an old Duke guard, like a smaller white guard who can make plays. I'm 6'7". Like, no, he ain't coming back next year either.
Yeah. I mean, this is one of the, by the way, the AD comparison is good for the NBA too, because AD has been an unbelievable player. Mm-hmm. He's a Hall of Famer. He's won a championship. And there's just a hint because of his offense is not quite dominant enough where people are like, We saw it with that. Like, that's honestly, like, I imagine there could be something like that with Cooper Flagg unless his jump shot continues to get refined.
Or unless he lands in the right spot where that is not, because like if AD, like of course if he lands with LeBron, but he lands in a different situation where he has, or I guess I want to kind of, obviously they don't play like Jokic, but like Jokic in a situation with Jamal Murray where there is a guy to do that. Like it feels like it could be circumstantial, but Cooper Flagg does have, well, definitely, which means that they're all a tier lower than LeBron or AD or somebody where I think the circumstances don't.
I mean, that's the thing about the top level of NBA players. That's what we thought was Zion. Then you turn it around immediately.
This might piss you off because I know we try to stay away from the low hanging fruit conversations, but like I do want to spend a little time, and this is probably in part because I watched this last game with the whole family and my son. But I want to spend some time talking a little bit about the clickbait that I used at the top, being that Cooper Flagg could be setting himself up to be on a trajectory to be face of the league type of guy. Mm-hmm. I thought about it last night when my son, who is 12, and you'll find this funny, he was doing the Cooper Flagg like kind of flex celebration that Cooper does in that commercial, and that he seems that it seems to be his signature now. And it's funny because Declan does this all the time where he's around the house practicing celebrations. I'll see him doing the LeBron. He'll like run behind me and try to like dunk on me in a doorway, and then do the head top, and any football celebration that he's seeing, he's practicing. It's absurd.
It's why the backflip is coming back at some point.
We had our first flag football game yesterday, and he got a pick six in the end zone and took it back the other direction. And the whole time he's looking back, trying to gauge whether he can start celebrating or not. And I'm not saying anything, but I'm furious. Like, put your head down. Like, I'm just an old man. Like, just get to the end zone, man. Get to the effing end zone. And he's just looking at it. Unfortunately, he determined that he was not quite fast enough to pull away and start high stepping.
This is a teachable moment, not to not celebrate, but you have to work hard enough to get fast enough to celebrate earlier.
Yeah, you got it. I got to figure out how to. I mean, motivating kids in general is not easy, but you're right. I got to figure out what's important to him. Is the carrot. The carrot is not get fast enough to be good. Or to be great. It's get fast enough to like be able to get a 10-yard head start. My parents, I told them about the game, and they said that he's better than me, and I laughed in their face. He's like, he's better than you were at your age. It's like, man, you don't get the
This is funny though, because you tried to tell us that Declan wasn't that athletic, and then you sent videos of him jump cutting and cutting across the field and making like incredible contested catches in the National Flag Football Tournament. And I was like, he might not be that athletic compared to you.
yeah, I think that's fair. And he has but like I guess his team is really talented, and so like he is above average athleticism. But like I was. Like, as are a lot of kids who end up making professional sports, like you're clear. It's clear. You're the best guy on the team. And like there are games where he's the best guy. Yeah, there are games where he's the best guy on the team. But by and large, like he's above the middle line and really good. So that's what my parents like, man, y'all out your damn minds. I'd gave that boy the blues. Like yeah, he's handsomer than me. He's smarter than me, thanks to Ashley. But he's also not the athlete I was, thanks to Ashley. But he thinks he is, so it doesn't matter.
He's careening towards a day when he's 17, when he's like, Mom, it's your fault I'm not faster.
And then he's going to be like, but Mom, it's awesome that the girls like me thanks to you. Actually, girls liked me too because I could fly.
Because you were faster.
What were we talking about?
We were still talking about Cooper Flagg being the face of the NBA because Declan liked him.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that's what was the impetus to me going down this thought pattern. But like, do you think? I think that these next two games matter for that and put him in position to be a guy that we all know and care about and will follow his growth. And ultimately, the face of the league has to just be the guy who's the best in the league.
Yeah,
and
unless it's Jokic, who doesn't give a about it.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not just, I guess it's a guy who's the best in the league and is always in the June games. Like, you know, and Jokic, because of injuries around him, is not always in that situation. And, right, that's always who we're looking at when we talk about face of the league, when we talk Magic and Bird and talk Jordan, because I think.
And that's, it's been LeBron and Curry for a long time. And then, you know, Tatum wants it, but.
Yeah, no way.
As someone said online, he makes Tim Duncan look like Robin Williams. But so it's really funny that you said that. I mean, Cooper Flagg certainly could get there. I mean, if I was betting, I'd say Luka in LA if they start winning championships. Like, he's someone who could really connect. Yeah, I mean, Flagg could be famous, but what I thought was most interesting about that is your son watched the NCAA tournament and liked Duke. Do you realize with their white protagonist guy, they're just a not hateable team. They haven't been since the Zion time. They haven't been since the Paolo time. Like their transformation is what's interesting to me. Like, people wanted to project this stuff on Cooper Flagg, being like, oh, he's the next line in this Duke like lineage of villains. And it's like, nah, this team's actually just pretty cool to watch. They aren't really obnoxious at all. And there was this whole narrative from gas bags being, you don't want to be the coach after Krzyzewski. You didn't want to be after Dean Smith or John Wooden or Bear Bryant or Bobby Bowden or Nick Saban. And it's just like, nah, John Shire is like, it's not Johnny Dawkins. It's not Wojo. It's me. Yeah. It's not Chris Collins. And I could be here for the next 35 years dominating college basketball. The brand, I mean, I obviously wasn't there in the 70s when UCLA was dominating college basketball. Duke is synonymous with college basketball now. It doesn't seem like it's going away. And I'm not saying that Shire is like the greatest X's and O's coach. I'm not saying he's Rick Pitino or John Wooden or, you know, someone reinventing basketball or Mike D'Antoni's offense, but he's clearly a very good coach, and it's picked up immediately. And they look like they're going to have a chance to win the national title every year, and they're doing it in a way that is not hateable. They don't have Grayson Allen tripping people. They don't have the vitriol directed at them, even though it's like not that different than it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's what kids think is cool is what's cool, and like they're not hating this Duke team.
No, I agree. Yeah. And I mean, in my son's defense, I wouldn't say that he was a Duke or Cooper Flagg fan, but like he just liked celebrations and he thought that was cool. But I think your point is fair. The way that people, younger sports fans than us, the way that they view Duke is not the way that we view Duke.
Yeah.
The history of, and so like I grew up rooting for Carolina because my dad was from Charlotte and he didn't go to Carolina, but like the history in that area was like Carolina was the black school because it was the first school to start to put black players on the court, and Duke was the opposite of that. So like that was a driving force behind that. So it was, and then Duke had those teams in the 90s that were like these kind of preppy jerks,
white boys. I'll say it for you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Who were like trying to fight you and slapping the floor, doing all that stuff to drive it home. But I think since the one and done, the most recent one and done era, Duke hadn't recruited those guys. It was a different type of guy. It wasn't, hey Dobbs, sneaking in the background, hey Dobby. It was a different type of guy, which isn't always as likable. But you're right, they moved to a place where the most memorable recent Duke teams are the ones with Zion on it, which like,
yeah,
Zion, well, his college career or his high school career is the opposite of what you imagine Duke, where he was just doing windmill dunks over top of little rich white kids who were in the private school circuit.
Maybe Coach K was the villain we missed all along. You know, storming into other locker rooms to teach teams a lesson.
Oh, I forgot about that.
You know, yelling at players for respect in the handshake line. Having back injuries whenever his team was in a slump. You know, the last memorable Duke team is I was so happy when Carolina ruined those last two Coach K games.
That was funny.
It was the best. It ruled. Yeah.
You don't think if they start reeling off championships, you don't think we'll find a way to hate them again?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too soon to say. By the way, one piece of cleanup on face of the NBA stuff. We can't, even though he's sort of out of sight, out of mind, we can't forget Wemby, who is most.
Yeah, I think the Wemby thing is it's his to win. Like if I had to put a wager on it, it's his to have. It's like he seems to have the personality, obviously has the talent, but the question is the health, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you cleaning that up so we don't get yelled at.
People are going to be like, how dare you forget the most exciting, freakish alien basketball player that we've seen in a long time, being like, what is this? So there's another story in college basketball that I need your take on. You are Mr. Terp. Many people have called you that.
Not Mr. Thighs. I was listening to old episodes of when we were down there last time in Miami, and David didn't appreciate my short shorts, and so he called me Mr. Thighs.
Yeah, but that's because your shorts would have gone past his knees.
Little man. All right.
That was mean. I'm sorry, David. Sure, it's not your fault.
Yeah. My coach has left. My college basketball coach has left.
Kevin Willard's left for Villanova in what was a really messy thing. He talked about how Maryland spends less money on NIL than other schools, and he wanted an offer, and Maryland ended up giving him an offer close to $6 million. And during the NCAA tournament, while Derek Queen was hitting buzzer beaters, he was sort of leading this very public negotiation, and then he left to go to Villanova. Right. The value of Villanova versus Maryland is interesting because they're a Big East school. And as there's reform in NIL, we're trying to get to a place where it comes from a revenue pot that the schools dole out rather than booster-backed NIL things and name, image, likeness contracts. And the Big East doesn't have football. And so these schools are prioritizing basketball first. They're going to spend a much larger portion of their budget on basketball compared to Big Ten and SEC schools. My guess is that's not for long as these schools skirt the rules and go around it and it comes back to the wild, wild west. But when you see this, what's your reaction? It's like, is Maryland even a football school over a basketball school? Like when you're looking at how they should prioritize this stuff, I know there's revenue in football, but the history's in basketball.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people outside of this area, when you say Maryland, if you think of the sport, like you think of Maryland as a basketball school or a lacrosse school, if anything, but you're not considering Maryland a football school. And the basketball school thing is kind of backed up by the way that they spend their money. In that article that you were referencing, they also point out that Maryland was second in the Big Ten for the money that they used on basketball, which is funny and I get that Kevin Willard would still be upset by that because he's looking at being nationally competitive, and what they offer at Villanova in the future is going to be better until the big schools start to figure it out, or they start paying people under the table now, because it's also talking about the clearinghouse for NIL deals. Like this it feels like we're just going to keep trying to create a system that we can't actually create or enforce, right?
They're creating the old system again.
Right. Yeah,
this is amazing. They're
Right.
creating an old system where now it's going to be money under the table because you can only get it from this pot. And we're going to wonder why all these guys go to the best schools. Because, I mean, their idea is to make it more egalitarian. You have this amount of money to spend. Each school has it. You split it up this amount of ways.
So can I, before you go down that path, it just popped into my head that let's accept accept that this new revenue sharing structure ends up with the Big East schools, because they don't have football teams, spending a disproportionate amount of their money on their basketball teams, which would make their basketball teams essentially, there's the NBA of college basketball. All the Big East would have the very best players, and then all the other Power 5 conferences would not be able to compete. I just imagine, since all the revenue is really generated in the tournament, if the best teams are from the Big East and not all those teams are like huge, I guess they're in big markets, but they don't cross the country and they aren't big alumni base. Like, I wonder what that does to the impact on the tournament. And I don't know, it's just all very interesting. And I want to go back to this other point you made about like putting money towards football. It's because football is the only thing that really generates revenue for the schools. So like, if you're looking at it as you're running a business, then putting your money towards football, being competitive in football, I guess makes sense. But you could also just be bad in football and take the conference revenue money for having a bad football team and put it wherever you want.
I guess the fear is that you'll get booted from the Big Ten at some point if you don't spend like the big boys out of this fixed amount, and you're going to have to compete with Ohio State and USC and Michigan and Oregon in your conference now in football. And those are the stakes. So if you can compete with those guys, you can compete with anyone. But like, I don't know. Like you think about Maryland athletes, you think about Juan Dixon. Yeah. You think about Len Bias. Yeah. You think about the fact that Moses Malone was committed to Maryland. These are like, it is a basketball school. And if you want to, like, yes, they were forward facing. They left the ACC to join the Big Ten really early. And it's something that probably saved their athletic program in a lot of ways. It was a brilliant move. But like, I don't know, like, one, it's hilarious. This is coming from Kevin Willard. Yeah. He's a good coach, and but like, this is the guy who's able to make these demands because so many legends of college basketball have retired, and he's been able to go this way. Like, I don't know. I would almost lean in. We just had this whole Duke segment about how they're synonymous with a sport in college basketball. And like, that brand is so incredibly strong because of it. And I don't think Maryland could ever become Duke basketball. That's something that happened over 30 years of Coach K and his white boys. But, it doesn't make sense to, I don't know. I don't know if in college sports you'd rather be a jack of all trades and a master of none.
Yeah, I get it. But I mean, if the money isn't there, I don't know. It's a hard decision to make. I think it all it's not a real decision that you can make, because it all comes down to like us trying to convert college athletics into professional athletics without giving up the things that we love about college athletics. And
it comes down to what Kevin Plank wants.
No, I'm saying generally, not in Maryland. I'm saying generally in all the sports, and us adding these rules and trying to twist this. It's one of my favorite things to point to is like you have to make trade-offs, and it feels like college sports are not willing to make the trade-offs. Either you're going to be professional sports or you're going to be college sports. And as you move to professional sports, you have to let go of some of the things about college sports that you've come to like and love. And I think Maryland was one of the first teams to kind of accept that, or one of the first schools to accept that, and that we loved the tradition and the history of being in the ACC, the rivalries with Duke and those sorts of things. But they made the prescient decision to let go of that because we're big professional sports now.
Yeah, I mean, it is trade-offs. Football schools are making trade-offs to give up basketball in certain ways and basketball to football. But mostly, you can see that football is going to be priority. I mean, look at North Carolina right now. This is the blueprint. They've brought in Bill Belichick with the hopes of one day, like, looking cute enough for the SEC to be like, come on and join this Southeastern Conference. Yeah. Who cares about your basketball rivalry with Duke? If you want to survive, if you want to be like a massive program, come join us and play some football.
Yeah. Whenever you bring up UNC coaches, I can't help but think about Hubie in his intro press conference. Do you remember the quote from that?
No.
Oh, yeah. They were talking about him being the first black coach, I think, at the school. Mm-hmm. And he just got caught up, man. And he's talking about how he's proud of being a black man and he's proud of being married to a white woman. I'll never forget it. Look it up. I'll never forget it. It was bounced around my group chats for a while with us all laughing because I don't think he meant it that way, but he's like, I'm proud to have a white wife.
All I could think of when you said that was when Jay Williams tweeted about Ime Udoka being the first black coach of the Celtics and then claimed he was hacked.
Oh God.
Do you remember that? I was hacked. That was all. You should have done the Big Cat thing and just tweeted out a picture of a PlayStation and be like, free PS5. Because it was after Bill Russell, Casey Jones, Tom Sanders,
right. I know that, but I don't remember.
I just wanted to list all of them because they're so ridiculous.
I didn't remember the Big Cat thing you're talking about. He said something wrong and then tried to give away PlayStations.
Anytime people are gonna like with him about his teams losing, he'll pretend he got hacked and tweet out like a picture of a PS5 and be like, "Free PS5, DM me for more info." It's a great bit.
Yeah, that is.
It's a good bit.
It is a good bit. Yeah, no, I mean, I knew the Bill Russell thing because he was a player coach. Like, I knew that fact. So I may not have been able to name all the rest of them, but I knew that particular one. I saw Jay Williams sent out a tweet recently that got my attention. Oh, he was defending players for complaining about the media by reminding people that Jordan complained about the media. Also, it was, I don't know. It was interesting. It's a good move. Good move.
Yeah.
Anytime you can reference Jordan, it's a good move.
Yeah, I mean, you know who Stephen A. would not have swung on Jordan immediately. Too much respect.
Funny. I'm gonna ask Stephen A. that next time I see him. If I get on First Take, it's like, what if that's hilarious? What if Jordan walked up on you? Like, did Stephen A. Make any comments about when Marcus Jordan got arrested recently?
Right. I'm sure he did, but I have no idea.
So but Mike should have pulled up on him
immediately. He would have swung on him immediately.
It's kind of unfair what people are doing though, because he did say that, which might be true. But the part that's unfair is he also said, "I would have just had to get my whooped." Like he wasn't suggesting that he was gonna like rock him or like have a good fight. He was like, "Look, it is what it's gonna be, man. Like this is what I do." So like I'm not mocking him like other people are saying like he's lying. Like no, I think he probably would have. It just took that whooping before security could get there, and it'd take a lot of security guards, man.
Again, yeah, about LeBron.
Oh, so many security guards,
and they'd have to, it's a delicate situation because security guard hurts LeBron for beating the out of Stephen A.
Oh yeah,
there's lawsuits everywhere.
It was in LA too, so yeah, those security guards would have been they would have been yelling, not touching, just yelling, "Hey, stop it! Hey, Come on, big fella, chill.
All right, last topic. This is one that I thought was like, I know you've bristled at in the past when people are like, oh, he's too smart for football. Whether it's, sometimes it's Josh Rosen, sometimes it's Justin Herbert with that. And like, I think that goes to your point that that's a stupid way to evaluate someone. But you have Tet McMillan, who is widely viewed, if you're saying Travis Hunter is a wide receiver, is the number 2 wide receiver in this class. And he was recently asked about watching football, and he's like, I don't watch football. I'm like, what about tape? He's like, I don't watch tape on my own. He's like, sometimes we'll go over it with I'll get what I need out of watching it with my position group, but I don't watch film on my own. When you hear that, is that something that, and then JP Acosta tweeted afterwards, you'd be shocked about the amount of players who don't love watching football, who play football. Right. When you hear that, does that matter, or is this nothing as a wide receiver in particular?
Yeah. So I think that sometimes I bristle, like you mentioned, at the framing of the idea that a guy's too smart. And I think that I'm trying to account for evolution of my opinion, because in the past it's been 100% that's stupid, that doesn't mean anything. But I think there's something to be found in there, because I have to also point to like the best players that I've been around. Not all of them, but a lot of them don't care about anything else or anything as much as they care about this. And there's been a couple of them who are incredibly good, but also feel well-rounded. But I think even outside of football, outside of sports, there tends to be some level of at least correlation, if not causation, into like the most successful people are a little weird and a little obsessed. And so I think that there's something to be said for like all-time greats. Yeah. The stuff that we say about Jordan isn't a lie. Like he's a little obsessed, a little out there. But I think by and large, most of the players fall into some normal range, and some of those guys really love football. And some of those guys don't really love it. And some of them watch it all the time, and some of them don't. So I think it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but where it does mean something is it was the way
like Kyler Murray, who liked COD.
There you go. He just want to shoot. Is there a new one dropping soon? Oh, they come out around Thanksgiving, right?
October. Okay. It's the Kyler line. Sorry, I cut you off on a very salient point. Continue.
No, that's fine. I got somebody hacked my Activision account. I ain't played Call of Duty in a year and a half because my account got hacked, but whatever. The point I was making was, I think in his delivery was a nonchalance that I think would scare teams. And I think I didn't really learn how to watch film until I would watch a ton of film, and I would think that I knew what I was looking for. But it wasn't until I got to Baltimore, which was the 5th year of my career. Like I'd been in college and my coach never taught me how to watch film, but I would watch it all the time and maybe pick some things up. So I think there are a lot of guys who watch this stuff and don't know what they're looking for and don't get anything out of it. I mentioned this to Ed Reed a long time ago. It's like, you should just like open a consultancy and just like the way that people would bring in Hakeem to do post moves.
Post-camp?
Like, yeah, you should just be a film camp guy. It's like bring you in to help quarterbacks or help safeties learn how to watch film, because that's how I learned what to look for and how to prepare for a game through watching film was with Ed. And so I think there are a lot of guys that watch a ton of film and don't get anything out of it. And there are guys who don't watch any film, and so they don't get anything out of it and have plenty of success. But the concerning part is, to me, was the nonchalance, the fact that it was recorded and we could see him and hear him talking about it. I hate to be this guy because I want to be like the pro player guy who's like, all these guys are overthinking this. But now that I'm getting older, I'm a championship flag football coach. You know what I want? I want the kid who's like, love it. Or even if he doesn't, he at least respects me enough or knows well enough to say, I love it. Which is, I know it sounds dumb and I'm upset to hear myself say it, but like, I want the guy who actually loves it and is obsessed with it, is going to cry when he loses a game. Or at least the guy who's like, you know what coach wants to hear? Me say I love it. Right? Am I wrong? Please be on my side because I feel so nervous and uncomfortable about this because this goes against my general pro player stances.
We got him. We got him.
I'm sorry you graded.
Welcome to the olds. You're officially an old. You're off the pro player mantle. You're one of us.
I hated it when I watched that clip. First, I hated hearing the way that he said it, and then I hated my reaction to it because my immediate, you can't control some biological reactions to things. Like, it just happens. Somebody jumps out at you, you're gonna go, ah! Yeah. I heard him say that, and I was like, ugh. And then I caught myself, and I started trying to reverse engineer a defense for him. And I was like, no, if you were a GM, I would put a mark on this guy. Like, I don't know. It's not a don't draft him, but do I want this guy?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man, I hate myself.
Can't be a diva wide receiver if you don't care.
I hate myself for saying that. I didn't love Tet as a prospect anyway because he's a big, long strider, ball winner type of guy who actually has some good routes, or better routes than you would expect for someone his size. But this didn't help me. This is sad.
Oh, what a great way to start our week.
This is a terrible way to start our week where I'm realizing that all the dumb coaches that I had my whole life were right. I'm becoming them as I'm yelling at my son for celebrating too early and telling Tet he gotta love this. You gotta love it, Tet.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful stuff.
It's terrible stuff.
This is the beginning of our Vant week. The rest of the week, we're going to be in Miami gallivanting.
Yeah, can't wait to vent in MIA. It's going to be a
full
good time.
Full moon.
Does anybody get that reference? I get it because you do it all the time, but no one else gets it.
This is just Saxon from White Lotus on the boat to the full moon party. No more spoilers than that. It was a completely passable moment that no one else found as funny as me.
All right, Charlie. Well, we're good. I hate the way we end these shows. Didn't we figure out a way to end shows before?
Yeah, we need a better segment to end the show.
All right.
If you have better segments to end the show, tweet it at me or Domonique or DM us on any platform.
Do our job. Thanks, Charlie. Thanks all the great producers. Let's go to Miami. We out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.